With the Vegas Pro 17 has a lot to do with a poor case of QAing and a poor case of documentation. For example, if you were to type up the audio syncing feature in the help menu, what you're going to get is just the advertisement stuff, the highlight that it's a new feature, but nowhere to be found are the instructions of how to get there. This is ridiculous. It is absolutely absurd. I have to wait for Gary, God bless him, to give us a tutorial for how to activate this feature as opposed to, being able to read the documentation for myself, just like any decent software is documented. This is completely inexcusable. I had to search up the forums to learn how to actually do this before I made the tutorial. And to be honest, it is a very elusive feature. And by the way, about the audio syncing feature, it took me 35 minutes to sync a bunch of C300 footages, which didn't exceed 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes at most. It took 35 minutes. And yes, this was carried out wrong. Yes, I should have adjusted the audio track so that they were close in the same that they were relatively close, but that does not mean that it should take 35 minutes for it to give me an error saying that it could not read the preference. At most, a few seconds. At most, if we're dealing with lossless audio, perhaps 2 minutes. 35 is a bit pushing it. And, hey, the problem could be from my end, right? It could be some horrible preferences that I got. Why isn't there any talk about this in the documentation? In fact, when you, speaking about QA, when you actually pop open Vegas Pro 17 for the very first time, guess what you'll find in the video tab? 32 threads. Your thread settings are dialed to 32. I don't think that number of threads exists in a dual computing scenario. What processor available in the market has 32, unless we're talking about a very sophisticated server processor? I'm not sure. Maybe you tech guys could tell me, but I know my i7 doesn't have 32 threads, and I don't think the i9 has 32 threads. Why is it dialed 32 as a default? This is ridiculous. Not everybody is tech savvy enough to understand what this option yields. So, I love Vegas Pro 17. I will continue to endorse the idea of buying it, because when you buy it, you pretty much buy all the fixes and updates that you're going to get with all the different builds that they're going to release along the year. So not much is lost, especially if you take advantage of the discount or the sales that they have every now and then. Buy Vegas Pro 17. But it just does not make any sense as to why these mistakes, these very, very, very avoidable mistakes, are there. If a feature is not ready, do not release it. If a feature requires a specific kind of tuning for it to be to work properly, talk about it in the documentation. But there is not even a mention as to how to navigate to it. This is really frustrating. Aside from that, I love Vegas Pro. I really, really do. I love the new color grading interface, even though if I switch over to the HDR editing, my RGB parade practically just disappears. So there's the GPU utilization thrown outside the window. It just does not work. In fact, HDR editing as a whole has a lot of bugs. So this is something that Magix will probably fix, given that they're according to what I'm reading in the forums anyway, they're in contact with NVIDIA. I love the coloring interface nonetheless. I absolutely love the ProRes-like, or ProRes essentially, rendering codec that they've introduced with Vegas Pro. I absolutely love the note-taking functionality, and there's just a lot to love about Vegas Pro 17. I don't care so much about the plugins problem. I mean, this is something that to be expected with every single release of a new software. This is just how the development goes. If there's a new software, the developers of those sub-plugins need to adapt accordingly, and they will. They will. In fact, I think I read somewhere on the Red Giant that Plural Eyes is now ready for it to be implemented on Vegas Pro 17, so thank you, Red Giant, for that. But in all honesty, I am rather disappointed in the unnecessary oversights that are there for Vegas Pro 17. Forget about the fact that Vegas Pro 17 is originally a DAW. I mean, there is a metronome in Vegas Pro 17. What NLE that you know has a metronome function? Anyway, regardless, what I'm particularly frustrated is just how avoidable these oversights are. And it just goes to show the lack of quality assurance that happens after the development of the software. This could have been a very rushed product, but there is a certain limit to how many oversights you could have as you release it. Adobe has screwed up big time with 2019 in the past when they initially introduced it. They really, really screwed it up. But none of their mistakes come close to how embarrassing this has been, in my opinion, for Magix. Is a lot of this stuff can be avoided. I really, 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 really think that Magix should really consider a better structure in how they QA their products before the release. There's a lot of grammar mistakes. There's a lot of misinformation that's published on their websites. I mean, if you go to the product comparison between Vegas Pro 17 Edit and the Vegas Pro package, you will find that it lists world-class stabilization on the front page just for Vegas Pro, but not in the Edit package, even though the stabilization is available there in the Edit package. It is absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, they do have it listed properly in the other comparison page, just not for this one. Vegas, we love you. Magix, we love you. I don't know. Gary, we love what you've been doing. We absolutely love this feature. It is an exciting time to be a Vegas Pro 17 user, but seriously, get the QA done right.